World, this is the Group of Five guys. Our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely will not do. We're trying to bring pride and excitement to these Group of Five campuses and communities. We need everybody's help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends to check us out. On this episode of Inside Drill, Toledo Athletic Director Bryan Blair, we're going to talk conference realignment, NIL. We're going to talk about the future first-round draft pick out of Toledo, Quinyon Mitchell, and plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. We want to welcome in a gentleman that we actually got the pleasure to meet in person this past fall in a huge MAC football game in Oxford. At the time he was hired, second youngest athletic director in the country. But, just from talking to him, and Jeff will tell you, you talk about a guy that in this landscape of college athletics, in no other words, just gets it. But we want to welcome Toledo Athletic Director Bryan Blair. Mr. Blair, thank you, sir. Welcome to the Group of Five guys.
Appreciate you having me. Appreciate all you guys do to cover the landscape of college football, in particular our brand of football. We got a lot to be proud of, and excited to talk about it today.
Well, the timing couldn't have worked out better to do it this week. So Thursday night's first round of the NFL draft, and barring something outrageous, you're going to have a Toledo Rocket getting drafted in the first round, and more than likely in the top 15 of the first round, in cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. What's that mean for you as the AD to just see a player, that you've been able to be around have that much success? And then what's it mean for the university also?
Yeah, I think one is exciting. I think I talk about Quinyon. I think many people don't know just how humble he is. So we had our student athlete advisory committee. They host our Rocket Awards, right? And it's where all the other sports come together and student athletes celebrate that night. And for many guys of his stature, they're going to be a top 15 pick. They say, you know what, I'm about to go in the draft. I'm not attending this banquet. It's too small time for me. And sure enough, there he is. And then we have an Easter egg hunt in our indoor facility where I bring my kids. Coach Cano brings his kids, a lot of their staff members. I got a handful of football players. Guess who's one of them? Quinyon. So it's the behind the scenes that you get to know of somebody from those humble beginnings from Williston, Florida, who became a Toledo Rocket and then chose to stay a Toledo Rocket up through finishing out this season. That's who you cheer for. I love him that he's a great football player. I love all his abilities athletically. But I think the person is just emblematic of our institution, our program, and the kind of young people Coach Candle recruits to the program. But I also think it's amazing. And I told our athletic staff and I told a group of business leaders this over the last couple of days. This is certainly an NFL draft, and it's the sport of football, but it's so much bigger than the sport of football. What this does for the University of Toledo, the amount of times, even in leading up into the draft coverage, they've talked about Quinyon, his name, his background. You see that Toledo across the chest or that logo spread. That brand awareness is invaluable for an institution like us. It's certainly trying to get enrollment and exposure as a whole from an athletic program, but for university, but also for the city. To know that when you come to a University of Toledo football game, you're watching big-time football where there's future NFL stars on the field at all times. Quinyon is certainly the most recent example, but not the only example that we've had. And you got Deontay Johnson. You got a number of guys that come from NFL. It's pretty amazing track record what Coach Candle's been able to do here in terms of developing NFL talent out of Toledo and putting it on to the next level. But certainly Quinyon sits at the top of that list right now, or will be here shortly.
Yeah, we got the opportunity to meet him and talk to him down at the Senior Bowl this year and echo every sentiment you just said. He couldn't have been, just a nicer guy, genuine, and made us feel like, what we do was
100%.
A big help to him. And we're rooting for that guy too. And as a Las Vegas Raider fan, I hope we take him at 13. But a little bit here, what does that do for the athletes that are there now? Because we see with this NIL landscape, kids are just bouncing around. Is that something you're going to try and use, for the next generation of players? Hey, look, Quinyon stayed when he could have left. Look what it did for him. Or do you think that won't have as much of an impact?
No, I think you're spot on. And I'll never look down on a young man for looking at options. I think it's the way of the world now, and then coaches and administrators do it, or certainly young people have that right. But the grass isn't always greener, and I think what you see in Quinyon is somebody who had a chance to go to a number of institutions, a lot of them back in SEC country where he's born and raised. He chose. He said, "Hey, you were loyal to me. You gave me a chance when nobody else did. I'm sticking it out here, and I want to play with my brothers on the team." And I think that piece gets lost in some of the transfer portal shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you want about switching institutions and finding places to play, but the idea that your roommates, your guys that you grind with in the offseason and go to war with, that you just toss them aside and trade them in for a new set, it's not that easy. And it's not that easy to find people in life that you can trust and love. And so I think for him, playing in the secondary full of his roommates, which is a big deal for him leading up to the promise he made Coach Gandil, standing by that when he could have gone to a number of places. I think it says a lot. I think even more than that, though, when you have a guy with those kind of abilities, think about how many people are looking at our film and coming to our pro day that wouldn't otherwise be there. And I think that's really what you see. And I've seen that time and time again throughout my career. When you have one of those top prospects shining, you see a trickle-down effect for the whole roster that usually benefits you 2 to 3 years down the line because there's film on there. And we've probably got a freshman that's flashed on film when you were watching Quinyon. Somebody says, "Hey, I need to look into further that guy. I know he's a young pup right now, but I think he's going to develop into something special." So I think we're going to see dividends not only now, but for the next couple of years from a tangible. They watch film on some of these young men, and they're paying attention to what they do. I mean, we had all 32 teams represented at our pro day, and Quinyon was there in sweatpants. But all those teams were there to talk to him, and then they checked out. Everybody else that was here. So I certainly think we've got other talent on the roster that'll get some shots, whether it be in the draft or the post-draft process. We're hoping this carries on for the next 2 to 3 years. And certainly from a Brandon standpoint, carries on many years after that.
If I can just echo, one last thing, I guess, to celebrate him. Yeah, you're exactly right. And, he does such a good job, like on his social media, sharing his brothers on the team's highlights and stuff. And every interview, pre-draft interview that he's had, he's making sure to represent Toledo, making sure to represent the MAC, the group of five as a whole. And I mean, we met the guy for 30 seconds, Jeff. And I feel like I'm not rooting for anybody as much as I'm rooting for him in this upcoming 100%. Draft. But, Bryan, you brought up branding, and these guys make fun of me about this book called Brands Win Championships. Mm-hmm. And, there's no question that Toledo, not just in football, but really in all sports, has the best branding in the MAC. So how have you built on that? And then why do you think that is, just as a whole?
Yeah, I think part of it is there's a Midwest humility here that I walked into where we're a little afraid to beat our chest sometimes to tell our story. And I've told people, I mean, I want to be humble as the next guy or girl, but at the same time, if we don't tell our story, nobody knows, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And so we want to start talking about some of our accomplishments and then screaming from the rooftop about what those are. So if you look at the sports of men's and women's basketball and football over the last 2 years, no program in the entire country, not Power 5, not G5, none of that, no program in the entire country has won more regular season conference games more than the University of Toledo. That's Texas, that's Bama, that's Tennessee, that's everybody. I think James Madison is right under us in terms of total wins. So you talk about those three high-profile sports. Nobody's done it better when you're in a similar footprint. You've been given similar resources. Certainly, you give us more TV money. I'm happy to be compared to others. But given what we've got, we've done more with it than anybody in the country. Most people would not know that, but for us being able to outline that and share that with individuals. So I think some of it is just telling the story of this place. I mean, you've had Nick Saban come through here, Gary Pinkel, Matt Campbell, Jason Candle. I mean, you've had a ton of successful football coaches. You've had a lot of NFL talent to come through here, and I'm not sure we tell that story enough. So one, by elevating the brand of Toledo Athletics, we elevate the brand of the university, the community, and everybody that comes through here has got the ability to build on that platform and take that next step. But I really think it goes back to investments made by our community years and years back. When Nick Saban was here, he was here 1 year and won a MAC championship in his first year, turned a team that had not been wildly successful into a team in 1 year that was wildly successful. We had one of his alumni on campus today. That same year, they opened a brand new press box in our stadium. So what you'll notice in our press box is similar to most Power 5 programs, we've got a bevy of suite and club options, more than most individuals our size. Well, that is built a financial model and a community support model that continues to stand for this day. So I tell people that infrastructure they built in the late 80s that came online in the 90s allowed for a revenue model and a community engagement model that's paying dividends now. And the same with our basketball arena. They did the same thing so many years ago. And so those early investments have taken us to where we're at now. Now we've got to figure out, okay, what are those investments that are going to last us the next 20, 30 years? And certainly in today's landscape, some of that's brick and mortar, some of that's NIL, and finding sustainable patterns for NIL. But I think being in the city of Toledo, the proximity to Detroit, the number of Fortune 500 companies we have right within our own backyard, I think we've got more abilities than a lot of our peers, and we need to activate those.
Yeah, definitely in the MAC for sure. I mean, it seems like your record of attendance is right at the top. And you mentioned community. Is there anything specific from an athletic director standpoint and just the athletic department as a whole that you guys have done since you've been there that's really further connected the community to the University of Toledo?
Yeah, I think a handful of things. I think one, latching on to this idea that we represent something larger than a university. So what you'll notice on our uniform, I know one of the popular picks of Quinyon right now is Toledo across the chest. It doesn't say University of Toledo across the chest, it says Toledo. And so whether you went to school here or not, you call this place home, you're proud of home. We represent something larger than ourselves, larger than a university. We represent your home. And so certainly you may be an Ohio State fan or Notre Dame or Michigan or whatever. And I don't care. But I want you to understand what home is. And we represent home. And I think that matters to people. And I think making them proud by the type of young men we have in our program matters a lot too. We've done a lot of things, some wacky outside the box in terms of the game day experience. We did a touchdown tank last year, where after every touchdown we dunked somebody into the dunk tank, which was all well and good during the summer. When we got towards the cold weather months, the just dropped down. We had a young lady in snow and mid-20s going to dunk tank. So I had half the people that loved it and it went viral at Barstool, and everybody picked it up, and then also got professors complaining to me that that's unsafe. We had to send somebody to the hospital. So we're thinking outside the box because we want people to come to our games regardless of the score. We want to market and create an experience that you would come to regardless of whether it was actually a football game or it was minor league. And then when we have excellent football like we do, it's the cherry on top. This past Friday on 419 Day, that's our area code, instead of just celebrating and having to be a party, we actually went out in the community and did community service as an entire athletic department. So everybody that wasn't in season or what participated that day went out. We picked up trash. We picked up, I think, 140 bags of trash, totaling like 3,000 pounds. Along the area, partnering with one of the local organizations around the city of Toledo. So I believe if we give back to the city's going to give back to us. So really trying to form a true partnership, give more than we take. I'm going to let people know we care, but also let people know that we've got future NFL stars. We've got a great brand of football. We've got a tremendous fan experience. We need you to come check it out.
Bryan, as athletic director in this world of conference realignment, the MAC has pretty much held strong. A lot of tradition, a lot of old rivalries. What's your thoughts on the MAC moving forward? And then, for the Toledo fans on here, for Toledo.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it all, right? I hear some of our fans say, hey, we better never leave the MAC. Don't you dare pull us out of the MAC's where we belong for eternity. Then I get others that say, hey, we should be in the SEC tomorrow. So, right, I get all kinds of feedback, as many ADs do. I think for us, the MAC has served us really, really well. I think it's a conference where, if you notice on a map, and I didn't realize this until I interviewed for the job, Toledo is the most centrally located school in the Mid-American Conference. And so it's a shorter travel time for all of our sports than it is for everybody else in the conference because we're smack dab in the middle of everything. And our furthest games are Northern and Buffalo, but everything else outside of that is a quick drive. And so that's really good for our student athletes, for their academics and getting back and being able to sleep in their own bed. It's really good from a budget standpoint that we spend less on travel than most others. But that northwest corner of Ohio, the state of Ohio, really, eastern Indiana and southern Michigan is full of talent. There's so much talent in there. Detroit's been fabulous for us in terms of recruiting high-level student athletes that want to compete. And I think people in this footprint know that there's a high-level brand of football here that, hey, if you're not going to probably one of those top Big Ten schools, we're in the conversation. And there's a lot of times where we're beating out some of those Big Ten schools at the bottom of the equation because they want to play for a winner. They want to go somewhere they compete for championships, and we've got that ability. And I've heard that. That's not me just being braggadocious. I think some of our student athletes will tell you that if it comes to being a bottom 12 or Big Ten athlete or going to a place where we compete for championships and then look at our NFL pedigree, they want to be a part of that. So the MAC's been very good to us, and I tell people you always got to keep a head on a swivel in this state of change we're in right now. You never know what will exist tomorrow and what won't exist and what's brand new. But we need to focus on being the best version of Toledo possible. And if we can focus on that piece of it and be the best version of ourselves, I think everything else really takes care of itself.
Well, part of this equation – I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sprouse.
No, well, I was just going to add on to that. From a recruiting standpoint, like you mentioned, you could win the MAC and make the playoff. Where some of these schools, again, I'm not talking bad about them. They're never going to win the Big Ten ever. So, do you want to win? And then you look at a guy like Quinyon, go where you're going to get tape, man, and you got a chance to make however many millions he's about to make here in a couple of days.
I mean, the reality is, you look at the current landscape, right? We got this 12-team playoff. There's a guaranteed spot for a group of 5. You could probably count on both hands how many schools have a realistic shot at that. And I would say we're firmly in the mix on that end. And last year, you'd argue a 4th and 4 against Illinois, and we're in the driver's seat for that spot if that didn't go the opposite way. And so I tell our people, this is not pie in the sky dreaming big. We are incredibly close to those dreams and aspirations that we have. And year out, I think it's only second to Boise, been to 14 straight bowl games or years of bowl eligibility. And so this is a program that's had high level success and not had the drop-offs maybe that some other programs have had. And it's just reaching that mountaintop of those opportunities we do, and then scheduling appropriately to make sure we give ourselves a shot.
Definitely in this landscape of college football, NIL is here to stay, it seems like. And there was some legislation that got passed in Virginia where it seems like the university now is going to be able to help the collective or absorb part of it. I know it's all an ever-changing environment. Do you have an opinion? I'm just curious from an athletic director's standpoint as far as the university taking in and taking on NIL, or do you think it should be separate, or what's kind of your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, one, I'm all for NIL. I've been kind of boots on the ground, even when I was a deputy at Washington State, at the early stages of that getting off the ground. And even as you think about somebody like a Cam Ward or some of those early individuals that were in the market around that time, and what does that mean and what does that look like in the landscape? I think whether it's in-house or separate from what we do or the like, I'm probably not as passionate about one or the other, as long as we can get some guidelines that everybody understands and we can streamline it for our supporters. I think right now it's just incredibly confusing for the people that try to financially support us. They're like, well, tell me about this name, and you got this name for this, and it's friends of this, and blue and gold this, and one's tax deductible, one's not, one maybe, and we can't really give them straight answers. And then they come to get an end of the year accounting of what they've donated to the department, and now they understand they have to go to somebody else to get another accounting. I think that piece of donor confusion is real. And I think that exacerbates the donor fatigue, quite frankly, because we're always going to go back to people and ask for more. I mean, that's part of the deal. But asking for more, but then doing it in a really confusing fashion, the way we have it right now is just not healthy. So whether it's in-house and we're able to facilitate those, or it's out-of-house and it's truly the marketing deals, I'm open to all of it, assuming we can get some clear guidelines. But I think we got a problem right now with just the rapid confusion, and we've got to figure it out here in the short term. Because I think if we can get it squared away, my only kind of non-negotiable is that we keep it tethered to higher education. I think the moment we pull student athletes out and they're no longer students and they're just marketing agents playing football and they don't get an education, I think that fundamentally changes not only what we do, but why we do it, what makes us special, and why I got involved.
Agreed.
Well, yeah, I want to switch gears a little bit, but you and I gave a perfect segue there on why you got involved. So what, you tell us a little bit of your story. Did you always want to be in athletics? Did you want to coach? You know, what's your story on getting to where you got now?
Yeah, no, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, Sherall, South Carolina, and kind of middle of dirt roads, pine trees, and cotton fields, I tell people. And got a chance to play 4 sports in high school, and went on to play football at Wofford College there in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And went to school thinking I wanted to be a veterinarian. And I took a biology class. I was like, yep, that's not going to work. I got to change it. So it really quickly switched to history and went on to law school. And I got to law school. I knew being a lawyer or a defense attorney or something like that would be the backup plan. But I really wanted to try to find a way to combine sport and law. And at that time, I think you started seeing a lot of ADs, commissioners, others combine JDs. I think all the commissioners of our major 5 pro sports leagues right now have law degrees. And so you start seeing that degree really step up in some of these leadership positions nationally, whether it be NFL commissioner or AD at Notre Dame or whatever it may be. So that light bulb went off, and I've been on that journey ever since. But really why I got involved is the experience I had as a student athlete. My coach is one of the people I still to this day look up to. My experience on the football field changed my life. I thought about it last week. I had a really long week last week where we were burning it from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. almost every night with events. We hired a brand new women's basketball coach. We did a lot last week. And you get to one point, I'm like sucking wind. I'm like, man, I'm exhausted. And then I thought back to those hot August days doing the running test at Wofford.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what, you did that, you got this. And so I regularly remember those experiences and what that was like. And it's allowed me to navigate a lot of life since then. And so that's why I do what I do, to share that similar experience and allow future student athletes to have even better experience than I had, and give them that life advice. Because those 4 or 5 years they're with us, they changed dramatically. We all remember walking on campus as a freshman, wide-eyed, not knowing anybody. And then what you're left as is more of an adult with the idea of what you want to do with your life. And so I think sometimes we fast forward through that piece of it and only talk about the football piece, or only talk about it of being a model akin to the NFL, and it's not. And I think we have to make sure we keep the main thing. And a piece of that is that growth, development, and education. And certainly we want more commercial opportunities, and I want kids to get paid more, and I want all these opportunities. But I think you can have both. And maybe that's just greedy, but I think you can have both. And I think we should always strive to have both in that equation. And that's why I got into it.
I love it. Well, you also, I was reading some of your bio and stuff. So you got 2 little ones. So you're right there with Jeff's got 3 little ones. I've got 2 little ones. So, you don't have to get too personal or anything, but how old are they? Are they into the sports? Are you ready to start recruiting them, or what do you got?
Yeah, I'm halfway surprised they hadn't busted in the room yet. I mean, this is an anomaly in and of itself, that they hadn't come through the door right now. But got my little man, Bo. He's 3. Bo Jackson, my favorite athlete of all time. So my little man, Bo, and then my daughter, Brielle. And she is so far a spectacular athlete. She's 5. But she's bouncy and springy and doing things at the playground you've never seen before. So I'm excited about them. She wants to do gymnastics or something along those lines. And then I bought about 15 million footballs and placed them around the house. So he has no choice. He picks up a ball. It's a football.
There it is.
We were at a tennis match this weekend, and one of our football players comes up. He says, he looks up at him, the guy like 6'5". He's 3 years old. He says, "Hey, are you a football player?" The guy goes, "Yeah, I am." He said, "I'm a big football player too." And so he's got his mentality right where it needs to be. So we're raising him right over here.
That's awesome.
I love it.
That's awesome. Well, Bryan, I got one more question, and then Sprouse can finish it off. But we need to get back up to backcountry. Is there a game this season that we should put a big circle around or star, or we got to come check out Toledo at some point? What's a game we need to come to?
I mean, we got some great ones. We got to rematch that the third in that series against Miami of Ohio at home.
Very true.
Excited about that. Our opening day weekend, we'll move to a Thursday before Labor Day weekend, and we call it the biggest party in Toledo. We're gonna throw a tailgate unlike anything you ever seen. But I'd say for my money, if I had to make a trip, we play BG at home on a Saturday. That's the first time, I want to say, in over 7 years that series has been played at home on a Saturday because it's been tied up with Maction. So this is a huge deal for our community, and we're separated by about 15 minutes. And so we will have a sellout. It will be a packed crowd, and the last 2 games have come down to the wire in amazing fashion both years. And so I think that game will be one for the ages, and hopefully there's a whole lot more blue and gold than there is that ugly orange. But it should be an incredible atmosphere here in Toledo, Ohio.
That speaking what they call my love language with that one right there.
No doubt.
Both of those now. I mean, that Miami game last year that we got to see was wild. Well, man, Bryan, thank you so much for coming on. We definitely got to see you. I'm glad we got to meet you in person up there this year, and then glad we got to stay in touch and make this happen. Congratulations on all of the free marketing you're getting this week. And love Toledo, love what you're doing there. Can't wait to see it in person this fall. Thank you, sir.
It's been great to meet you guys, and from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate all you do to cover our sport, in particular our brand of football. I know it means a lot to our athletes, it means a lot to our institutions, and certainly it adds to the interest in the games that we play. So from the bottom of our heart and from all of Toledo, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. See ya. So Saturday in October, Toledo, Ohio, or what?
I don't see how we say no. As long as it doesn't fall on Halloween weekend. I mean, that sounds like, I didn't realize they were so close in that rivalry.
No, I didn't either. Yeah, I knew it was a decent rivalry, but as good as both Toledo and Miami have been recently, it sort of seems like that has been the game from the outside looking in. But you hear it from the AD himself.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Well,
I think
plus
you got to
being
make
the
it happen.
first one on a Saturday in like 7 years is going to be huge.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to, if we can make that happen. He already said it, Sprouse. So roll out the red carpet for us. You got up on that dunk tank, get dunked in there after a
Oh,
touchdown.
and he said he said they'd set us up in the student tailgate, so that means you or Tip got to get on the mechanical bull.
Oh,
That's
ain't
what he
no
said.
doubt. Ain't no doubt.
I'll get in the dunk tank if
That's like a
listen.
cold plunge for me. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I'll sit in there and do some slow breath work for 3.5 minutes if I need to. But yeah, I don't know though. That's what, end of October. Listen, he said the weather's been good, but yeah, he lives there.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I
It's
mean, it's
not.
already like 90 where I'm at.
I
So,
know.
but anyway, man. I mean, dude, he was so spot on with everything, all the Quinyon Mitchell stuff and the draft. I mean, that's money. That's just like when you get game day coming to campus. But he is right. It's been, now what, a couple months?
Yeah.
Free advertisement for Toledo.
Yeah, and what I love to see is and you said it, he's an athletic director that gets it. He's so proactive. And we talked
Yep.
about some stuff off the air that they're going to be doing, and it's just like that's so smart and from a marketing standpoint. And he's with the coaches, throughout the different athletic programs. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. It's like you have to be that. If you're going to be an athletic director, you can't just be complacent and just do the same old song and dance. Like you got to be invested in the community. You got to do special things. Think outside the box a little bit. And if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But man, if you get something that does, it just continues to build that brand. Build the community around the programs. And he seems like he's got it, man. I hope he stays at Toledo for a while.
Yeah, and I do think, part of that is him, being a little bit of a younger guy in that role. Like he said on there, some people have this, this Midwestern humility, he said, but it's like, your job is essentially to build the brand of your athletic department. So you have to, like, you know what I mean? Like you have to beat your chest a little bit if you want to do your job.
Yeah.
You got to tell the stories and you got to get people, excited about it. And they historically, Toledo has always been, the brand. They get the attendance in the MAC, and it helps that they're very good at everything. But I think we always talk about, they all coincide. So just excited to see what else they're going to do there, and excited to see this this MAC race this year. So it's going to be exciting. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. Whenever somebody drops something like that on us, Jeff, about a game we got to go to, I can't think about anything else.
I know.
I'll be looking at hotels as soon as we hang up here.
I know.
Just so you know.
I know. I was like, I was debating whether I was going to ask him like that question. Now that I did, I'm like, oh man, we got to make it happen.
Yeah, you got to go.
Got to go.
Well, that's late. I mean, that's, what is that, week 8 or 9 maybe? I think would be around that time.
Yeah, I want to say, let's see, 12.
So
Yeah,
the good thing
9,
the good thing there is you'll kind of have, if there's any separation in the standings, you'll kind of know by that point.
Yeah.
So, if Bowling Green is going to be in the mix, you'll know. But either way, I think even if they're not,
just that rivalry.
Seems like that atmosphere is going to be incredible. So, but anyway, that's all we got for you guys tonight. Stay tuned tomorrow, Thursday night, first round of the NFL draft. Stay tuned and watch Toledo get all the free marketing and watch Quinyon Mitchell get drafted in the first round. Hopefully, somehow or another, he slips to 21 and slips to the Miami Dolphins. But
no,
I think, Raiders at 13 is solid. And I keep seeing, what are the Colts at, 15?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're 2 picks behind us.
I keep seeing Raiders and Colts. So, but anyway, that'll be good, and root for that kid. If you haven't had a chance to listen to any of his interviews or check out his socials, just check it out. I mean, you just a great kid. So easy guy to root for. But anyway, Bryan Blair, Toledo Athletic Director, thank you again, sir, for coming on and hanging out with us. That's all we got for you guys tonight. If you like the show, if you enjoyed what you heard, you can check out all of our episodes, YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Subscribe to the channel, leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Tell your family and friends all about us, and follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys.